Hey everyone, and welcome to the very first Midnight's Edge After Dark. I'm here with Tom, the owner of the Midnight's Edge After Dark channel.
Hello, how are you doing, Andre?
I'm good, thank you, and welcome into the Midnight's Edge family.
Thank you so very much. I'm humbly honored.
And someone else who's already part of the Midnight's Edge family is already joining us tonight, namely Narrator Supreme Robb Gallo.
Right here, everybody. Thank you. Greetings and salutations, everybody.
Let's hope Campia doesn't sue for that. But anyway, right. Moving on. Yeah, so some news broke while we were in the process of preparing and launching the Midnight's Edge channel mergers, namely Ben Affleck's Batman future in doubt as Warner Brothers plots franchise. This is a scoop that came from the Hollywood Reporter, so not something that broke at the San Diego Comic-Con. Because they obviously, you'd think, want to keep something like that under wraps. Because right now they're looking ahead for Justice League, and they don't want anything to screw with that. Certainly not their star leaving.
Too late.
It's speculatory, but yeah, it's been, this is something that I've been talking about since way back a year ago now, and I know so has Midnight's Edge, so this isn't like brand new news, but yet again, here we go. It's in the headlines again that they're unsure if Ben Affleck's coming back, and it wasn't even, a month ago that Charles Robin come out and said he expected Ben Affleck to be back as Batman, but he wouldn't directly answer yes or no. Then just last week we hear about the script getting tossed out, and then we also hear about The Accountant 2 getting greenlit. So all these things seem to be corresponding at the same time.
Yeah, and there's another new thing here as well, and that is director Matt Reeves. Because before, there was just one problem, and that was, did Affleck want to return to the role of Batman? And according to rumors, he didn't. But then that was really all you had to deal with. That was Ben Affleck himself. Did he want to return? Yes or no? But now, with Matt Reeves on board to direct, and Reeves tossing out Affleck's script and starting over, which of course was no surprise. That was one of the things that they would have agreed on the moment he was signed. But that leaves the question, does Matt Reeves want Ben Affleck's Batman? Can he make the Batman movie that he wants with Ben Affleck? Or does Reeves want someone else too?
I'm starting to think that Reeves might want someone else to play Batman. Because if he's going to want to take it his own direction, he's going to want his own actor. Kind of like when you have a baseball team or a basketball team or a soccer/football team in your part of the world, Andre. When you have a new ownership come in, they usually hire their own guy. New general manager comes in, they hire their own coach. They clean house. So I'm thinking Matt Reeves wants his own guy to play Batman.
Yeah, I'm inclined to believe that as well. It wouldn't surprise me, especially since Ben Affleck has publicly cast his future as Batman in doubt. And when Matt Reeves begins his Batman trilogy, and we know it's going to be a trilogy, he's not going to take the risk of losing his Batman star after the first or second movie. He's going to want the same actor for all three.
I tend to think that I still think isn't Ben Affleck contractually committed to play Batman? I mean, would it be a problem for them to let him out of his contract?
Technically he is, but I'm sure being that Warner Brothers wants to stay in the Ben Affleck business, if he wants out, they'll probably work something out with him. The thing that has me kind of concerned here, or at least I guess the angle I see it from, is it makes me wonder is, first of all, we don't even know who the actual sources are, and we could speculate on that here in a moment. But the other thing is if this is getting out, is Ben Affleck already out? Or is he just thinking about it and this is a leak? Because we know WB and DC have had a bad leak for a while. Because 90% of the stuff that's leaked out has basically come to be true in the long run. So I guess that's the big question in my mind is he already out or is he still deciding that? And what's the deciding factor? Because that's another reason why I brought up before, not to get too far off track, is why I never saw Robert Zemeckis directing The Flash, because he's saddled with a star, or actually several stars already, an entire cast basically, a storyline already, and all this other stuff that goes along with the baggage, and I don't see somebody like Robert Zemeckis stepping in and taking over a project unless they can have complete control. Same thing goes for Matt Reeves.
And Matt Reeves he's coming off a big success with the Apes movie too, so he has a lot more leverage now.
Let's take it back to the question if Ben Affleck is already out or if he is just thinking about it. I think he's already out, and he's known for a long time and they've probably all known for a long time. And the reason I think that is because he's had a hell of a time lately. The last few years, like his marriage has fallen apart, his passion project movie that bombed spectacularly. I don't know how tight he is with director Zack Snyder, but Snyder's daughter committed suicide. That's bound to affect him as a father a little bit as well. He worked his ass off on Batman v Superman, and it bombed big time. At least with critics, not so much financially, but like it's a punchline. The whole Martha moment was a punchline.
I was gonna say the meme was more famous than the movie itself. Yeah, the sad Affleck.
Yeah, and that wasn't the only meme. Exactly, you got sad Affleck as well. It's like it's just piled on and piled on and piled on, and I think all of that kind of contributed towards just souring him on Batman and the whole experience of being Batman. He might have been a fan, but it's not what he wanted to do. It's not what he imagined it would be.
He probably was like, fuck this is turning into Daredevil 2 now. And I honestly agree. I think he is out. I think he's been out for a while. And in fact, earlier on the Facebook group when this story broke, I said, who wants to start taking bets that Ben Affleck dies in Justice League?
Dies and he's resurrected somehow, and as
Armie Hammer will take over as Batman because he's going to be Nightwing, I bet.
Oh, that's God, I hope not.
Or somebody, whoever's playing Nightwing, supposedly. That's been the rumor for a while, unless they find a way to completely tie up the loose end in this film and move forward somehow in a reboot status. I don't know how they're going to do it without it being a complete clusterfuck, though. That's where I'm at.
I have a suggestion for how they could do it.
Sure, that'd be great.
Yeah, Ed Norton it. Remember that in the at first it was Eric Bana, but that doesn't count because that was a different continuity. The Modern Hulk started with the Incredible Hulk, the second movie of the MCU, and that had Edward Norton as Bruce Banner. But then he was recast.
Same thing with Don Cheadle, yeah.
Exactly. It was a simple recasting. There was no difference in continuity or anything else. Just do that here. I don't want anyone but Bruce Wayne as Batman. I don't want Nightwing.
I agree.
I especially don't want Armie Hammer as Batman. I know that he was cast as Batman once before by George Miller, of all people. But that just goes to show that even the best of people can make mistakes once in a while, because Armie Hammer, to me, does not have what it takes to be Batman.
I can see him as Oliver Queen, but yeah, not as Bruce Wayne. But that's the sad part, is anybody who knows me is my favorite part of Batman v Superman was Ben Affleck as Batman. So to me, this is like a shot to the heart. It's like, God damn, no.
That was everyone's favorite part of Batman v Superman. That was Ben Affleck. This also reminds me of something that I think that they're doing again here, basically just easing people into it. Because think back a few years to 2013, when Man of Steel first opened. And it did fairly well, but it didn't do $1 billion like they wanted it to do. So it was time for a rethink. And so instead of Man of Steel Part 2, at Comic-Con that year, Batman v Superman was announced. And so as to not disappoint the Superman fans overtly much, they said that it's going to be a Superman movie. This is the Man of Steel 2 under another name. It's just going to have a guest appearance by Batman. It's just going to be in the movie for like 10-15 minutes. And then as the months and years went by, it was clear that it was going to be a Batman movie guest starring Superman, which of course they didn't go out and say right away. And I think maybe that's similar to what we're seeing here. Namely that they kind of like ease us into it, warm us up to the idea that, yeah, Affleck isn't coming back. Probably their idea was to keep it hidden under wraps until Justice League had come and gone, but that isn't working out very well now, is it?
I don't know why this is such a problem. I mean, the Bond movies have been recasting for 50 years. And I don't see why this can't be any different.
I'm all in favor of them recasting. Anything is better than changing up that Bruce Wayne is being Batman. I don't want Nightwing. I think very few others do. I think the best course of action is if Affleck is indeed gone, which he probably is, then just do it quickly. Be done with it. Recast and move on, and let's pretend it never happened. And yeah, okay, so he was almost 50 before, and now he's someone in his 30s or early 40s. We'll just forgive and forget about that.
It would go along better with Joker, too, if they really insist that Leto is the actual Joker. Because even though in real life, Leto and Affleck aren't too far apart in age, in the movie, it just seems like the Joker is so much younger than Batman. It just doesn't
He
fit.
could pass for 30.
Exactly. He looked, because especially if you go by what Harley is, she looks like she's in her late 20s at best.
One thing I do not want to see happen, I don't want to seem like I'm picking on Zack Snyder, because he's had a horrible tragedy befall him, and nobody should have to go through what he's going through. The one thing I do not want to see happen is them to do the Nightfall angle and have Azrael be Batman. Because I wouldn't doubt it if there's somebody at Warner Brothers who thinks that this is a good idea, which it is not. Please don't let that happen. I can just see something bizarre like that happening. Or maybe they're going to surprise me. I'm not sure. But if you're going to change up the actor, then do it quickly. Be at a party somewhere. Someone says Bruce. He turns around and bing, bang, it's a new actor. That's probably the best way you could do it.
Especially if you do it between movies.
Yes, exactly.
Speaking of that, I actually posted in the Facebook group for Midnight's Edge a question. Do you have questions for us that we can cover on the air? And we have gotten a few replies. And Justin Thomas wants to know, who would be your picks for a replacement?
Woody Allen. No, just kidding.
That would be so amazing. Martha. Why you keep saying that name?
So, oh my God, he's got the with the makeup, it ruins your complexion, honestly, I have no idea, but I know somebody's gonna eventually say Idris Elba. So
Kevin Bacon.
Kevin Bacon.
I only have one candidate for the role. That is someone who I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of hate for and a bit of support as well. I don't remember the actor's name right now in this second, but if you know him, you know what I'm about to say. Yuri Boyka. I want Boyka as Batman. Scott Adkins. Scott Adkins is his name. He even looks like Ben Affleck. If you've seen the most recent movie by Sacha Baron Cohen, The Brothers Grimsby, he's in it and he plays a Ukrainian mobster. And Sacha Baron Cohen even calls him, Ukrainian Ben Affleck.
Yeah, I can kind of see that. He's a little younger, though, but yeah, a little young, but not much younger.
Yeah.
And not only that, he's 40. He's about 40 years old.
41, according to this.
Exactly, and he looks a bit like Ben Affleck, so it's not going to be a huge shift in that way. Physically, he's going to be the best Batman ever. This is a guy, he's a martial artist, professional martial artist. Just give him the suit, and he's going to do the best Batman stunts ever. And he's a perfectly serviceable actor. He's not going to win any Oscars for his acting anytime soon. But he can pull off the tortured Batman. He can pull off the damaged and depressed Batman. And I think that he's actor enough that he can pull off Detective Batman. And he can probably fake his way through Bruce Wayne. Which, if you think about it, that's what Batman actually does. Batman is his real identity. And Bruce Wayne is the mask that he puts on. That would be the challenge for Scott Adkins if he were to be cast. He'd fit right into Batman. That would be a piece of cake and a walk in the park for him. And then he'd have to really struggle with acting coaches and everything to pull off Bruce Wayne, the fake character. And I think that would actually benefit the movie. So I'd love to see Scott Adkins take on the role if Ben Affleck declines, which it looks more and more likely. Not only that, it's just not a matter of him not wanting to return. Probably Warner and the director don't want him to return either because they don't trust him, and they maybe see that Affleck was Snyder's choice and Snyder is gone from the DCEU.
Everybody's wrong. It's Matt Damon. But no, just kidding. I agree with you, Andre. If it's not going to be Ben Affleck, then it's got to be somebody like Scott Adkins, because he's more of an unknown. That's the only way I'm going to be able to accept it, because if they pull in somebody who's a big name actor like Ben Affleck again, it's just going to be too distracting, just like the old days with Val Kilmer and George Clooney coming in to take over the call. It was just too distracting, and I think that's the problem you're going to run into too if it's somebody else. And that's just it. It's like, if they're going to recast Batman, if they're going to reboot a lot of this stuff, I'd almost just as soon see them reboot Batman's entire universe, because I wasn't too happy with half the casting in Suicide Squad and so on either. So
And that brings us to the next question. Ryan McGlinchey asks, maybe not the most pertinent question in terms of the production, but what do you think Batfleck's potential exit could mean for the DCEU going forward?
Disaster.
I think it's going to hurt them in the short term. They'll recover. Depends how good the replacement is, really. If this is true, it all depends on who they get to step into the cowl.
Well, to elaborate on what you said earlier, Andre, in my theory is I don't think Affleck was so much Snyder's man, because that was Man of Steel. That wasn't Superman, that was Snyder Man. Anyway, no, I think that he was more so...
Snyder Man.
Yeah, that's what he is. I think that he was in a position to where he didn't enjoy or didn't like how Batman v Superman turned out. I think he was watching his power get pulled away from him slowly. I think like he got into the deal and he's like, this is not what I signed up for. I was supposed to have control. I was supposed to be able to do this. I was supposed to be able to do that. I did this movie for you guys. It was turned out to be junk. And then turn around on the other end, you had Live by Night totally crash and burn. So then that probably put Warner Brothers on the defense to where they're like, they're not so sure if they want Ben Affleck direct the Batman now. So I'm sure that put both of them at odds. And maybe like when they got the script, I think it was either Andre or Robb who said they liked it, but they didn't love it. It was Andre. They liked the script, but they didn't love it. Hence, that was their way of saying, we're not going to use it. And so at that moment in time, he knew that his script was not going to be used. And this was probably all during the same time as his announcement on Kimmel. And then to the point where he said, I'm not directing the Batman, and it was up in the air whether or not he was going to return after Justice League, which leads us right back to where we are. And if he does leave, I think it's going to be a devastating blow to the DC universe right now, especially as fragile a state they're in.
Like I said, it all depends on who they get to play him, though. I mean, really, it could.
It could.
You never know. You never know. The DC fanatics, they could love whomever replaces him.
Have you ever seen the movie That Thing You Do?
Oh, yeah. I love that movie.
When he says the talent just walked out the door, that's what's going to happen in this situation. If Ben Affleck walks out the door, the talent walks out the door. Because, I'm sorry, Henry Cavill barely convinces me that he's Superman. Gal Gadot is okay. She can be coached. But she's obviously not an Oscar-winning actress by any means, despite what any article wants to try and promote. And if he's gone, I don't know. I just don't know if it's on stable legs.
That is also the answer to Daniel Garrett Irwin's question. Does this mean the end of the current DCEU? Yes, in a way, I would say so. If Affleck does leave, it means the end of the current iteration of the DCEU. But that is coming to an end anyway. By that, I don't mean that they're going to reboot the whole thing, but they're going to probably soft reboot it in terms of like a tonal shift, if you will.
I can see that. That's kind of what I was thinking too.
Yeah, because we also have to keep in mind that there's been a change behind the scenes. Now, the creative committee that gave us Man of Steel and Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad, they're gone now. They are replaced by the new team of John Berg and Jeff Johns and a few other producers. And they came in during the production of Wonder Woman. And they've had more power over Aquaman, and they're kind of remaking Justice League again and again and again in their own
It's going to be the first $600 million movie.
Yeah, probably. And Batman going forward, that's going to be Matt Reeves' iteration of Batman, made in conjunction with the new creative committee going on there. And these people, they seem a little bit more competent than the previous ones. So the iteration that the DCEU started outing, that's over anyway. It's not going to be like a hard reboot, but it's going to be a tonal shift. And that would be amplified all the more if Affleck left. Because he is, as you say, right now the face of it. He leaves, then that's one face gone and over. And then it begins again. The same but different.
Johan Rutenauer was asking who the source was. We didn't really talk about this.
I think it's pointless to speculate on a specific name. But what I can say generally, this is from the Hollywood Reporter. And the Hollywood Reporter doesn't run scoops like this unless they are certain of their scoop. So what this means is that they know who the source is. They know exactly which person it is, and they know that this person is in a position to know what he's talking about. So when the Hollywood Reporter or Variety, if one of those two run a scoop like this, it's very little reason to doubt it. Even if we don't know who the source is, they do. And what we can surmise is that it's someone relatively high up in production, someone close to what is happening. It could even be one of the lead producers. This actually could be, I'm not saying that it is, but it's not unthinkable that this is a way for them to soften the blow. That this comes directly from the head of the DC offices, and they have like a strategy of how they're going to do this to soften the blow, so that when Affleck...
Kind of like Han Solo?
Yeah, kind of. So that when the hammer drops, then it doesn't come as a surprise to anyone. Then it's not going to be the end of the world, because we already knew, we saw it coming from a mile away, and we had the time to prepare for it and to mentalize.
Yeah, just kind of a slow drip, drip, drip.
Yes.
In other words, yeah.
I think what's more important here, and to kind of just add on to what you just said, Andre, is that 90% of the shit that has leaked has been true, if not more than that. So that's, I think, what's more important here is not so much the source, but the fact that the leaks have been accurate, or at least most of the time accurate.
Yeah, and they have. Just look at the scoops that we broke at Midnight sEdge with the whole Wonder Woman and everything. It all came true, all of it.
Right, and I'm talking even going all the way back to, like you were just talking before, like when Batman was just going to be in Man of Steel, to all of a sudden the rumblings was, oh, they're going to do Batman v Superman, the next thing you know, it gets announced and so on. And yeah, all from, it seems like since the very beginning, there's been quite a bit of information leaking freely from the DC administration, for a lack of a better way of
Sounds
putting
like something they need to see a doctor for, jeez. Leaking freely,
Well, I was going to say that, or very, very much mirrors other things that are going on, but we won't go there. Anyway.
Corey Stevens wonders, think this might lead to the Batman being a soft reboot of the whole universe after Justice League, and if Shazam falls through?
I think they move Batman up. Call me crazy. They might even try to move Cyborg up. I can see them trying that.
I don't think Cyborg's going to happen right away. I don't think, if at all. Unless he sells a bunch of toys after Justice League, I don't see it happening. Because a lot of his story seemed to be infused with Justice League. But I think, if anything, if this falls through, then they push with something like Green Lantern Corps.
Maybe it'll be another Wonder Woman movie.
Well, that's already on the burner. We know that. That's just it. They've got so many movies on the back burner that it's like, what's next? You know, we could sit here for 5 minutes naming off all the movies they've got supposedly that are announced or in the pipeline, from Batgirl to Gotham City Sirens to the just recently announced 2 news. Just on top of this was there's going to be a Joker versus Harley Quinn movie with Jared Leto and Margot Robbie. So, I mean, and not only that, she's attached also to the Gotham City Sirens. So they've got her working double time there. And you know she's probably going to have a cameo in Batgirl. And, you know, they got all this stuff going, plus Batman, plus Flash, plus, you know, Aquaman's finishing up now. We got Wonder Woman 2 in the pipeline. What else am I missing, Andre?
Justice League Dark?
Yeah.
Yes, Justice League Dark.
That's the one I'm interested in, by the way.
And I mean, that's just it. They brought up so many more that it's like, I'm trying to even think that we could, like I said, we could go on forever. So, I mean, I guess, Andre, what do you think they will go through next then if Shazam falls through?
I don't know. It's hopeless to speculate. I think that Justice League Dark is going to come because they've been talking about that. So at least I hope so. No, not the second part. Johan also asked, why just now on the eve of the San Diego Comic-Con panel? Oh, I can tell you exactly why. For views, for clickbaits. Probably this is something that the Hollywood Reporter has been sitting on for days, maybe even weeks, and they've been deliberately waiting to release it until right now in this moment. For the simple reason that right now the world's media is looking to San Diego. Go to like any shitty newspaper all over the world, and they're all going to be bringing news from San Diego Comic-Con. And this right here, now when everyone is primed for it, this is a scene stealer. Come to think of it, Ben Affleck with Batman has been like headlines from day one, from the moment he was announced. till the moment he dropped out.
Right.
Until this.
I agree, Andre. That's a good possibility that they've been sitting on this and they waited to drop it today because then tomorrow morning that's what everybody's going to be asking them or expecting them to talk about. Or I think when I said you answered that already earlier is what I mean is they're going to announce it tomorrow that they've already got a new Batman.
Yeah, that's also possible. I wouldn't put much money on it.
No, but that's a long shot.
But it is a possibility that, it's a long shot, but it could be that this is just like trickling, letting us all know that Ben Affleck is out, and here's the new Batman, and it's all going to be fine. What about Justice League? Because that's really going to kill the hype and anticipation if you go into Justice League already knowing that this is the last time you see Affleck as Batman, and there's going to be another Batman after this. And everything you're seeing is going to be like soft rebooted away.
Right, I think that you're probably right, and this is actually something that Hollywood Reporter has been sitting on, and WB was really hoping that they would sit on until after Justice League came out, probably.
They're going to want to keep this under wraps, this news under wraps. Yeah, you're probably going to get a lot of denials. Oh, no, we believe in Ben. Well, Ben's our Batman, for the foreseeable future. Just so that they don't...
up until he isn't.
I don't expect any announcement at San Diego Comic-Con, but... Again, this all eyes are going to be on the DC panel. Somewhere around between Christmas and New Year's, I would expect there to be some kind of official announcement if this rumor does turn out to be true.
Even if it isn't announced tomorrow, once the story is out, or the story doesn't even have to be out, it doesn't have to be confirmed, just that we are talking about it and everyone else is talking about it. This is going to reach the news all over the world. So this is a PR nightmare for them just when they don't want it, just before, and especially if they don't have a new one. Then they're not going to wait until December. They're going to have to get control of this situation right now. They can try to deny everything, but that's not going to work if it's not true. So then the solution is that they have to give people something to hope for, something to aspire for. And then maybe in that situation, we could get a new Batman sooner rather than later.
Right, unless they do pull a Han Solo and then like, oh, yep, that's why the news came out, because they are going to announce it. And like I said, that's the long shot, and I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I don't see that happening either, because Disney, they had complete and total control over that one. You don't see Warner ever having had that level of control, non-stop, so I wouldn't give them the credit. Zoe Shirtliff wants to know if this is mutual, meaning if both Warner and Affleck want this, or if it's one side pushing his exit. I think it's a little bit of both. I think that Affleck doesn't want to be Batman anymore, and Warner doesn't want him to be Batman anymore either. But I don't think that they are mutually agreed upon it, if you catch my drift, that there's still like conflict and tension there over it.
I think it's more so like WB may not want him involved and so on, and then it's more like they want to stay in the Ben Affleck business, so they're trying to work around it. So that's where I said if there's a contract loophole out of it, I'm sure, if not, Warner Brothers will be like, just tear it up as long as he does the accountant too. You know what I mean? That's kind of where I seen like that movie coming into play as well. I mean, not to really go beat a dead horse or anything, but I just see WB really grooming Ben Affleck to be like their next Clint Eastwood, if you know what I mean. Because Clint Eastwood's been a part of their company for the last 116 years. So I think that that's what they're doing. Is just, it was a joke. I'm sorry, it was a bad one. But no, he's been a part of the studio for many, 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 many years. And even though he's made a lot of bad movies over the years, most of his movies make money, and they will continue to let Clint Eastwood do whatever he wants to do until the day he decides not to do it anymore, or sadly passes away because he's Clint Eastwood. And I think for a while they were grooming Ben Affleck to be their next Clint Eastwood in a long roundabout way.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The Warner, that they are very filmmaker friendly, and they like to keep relations with the directors in their stable. So obviously they're going to want to have a relation with Ben Affleck for the long run going forward, which is also why they would let him out of his contract, because he still owes them one movie as Batman, but they don't have to enforce that. There's another great question in the Facebook group. Tanura Ravindra, I think that's how you pronounce it, sorry if I botched it, asks, do you see replacements for the Batman character down the line? And by that, he's thinking about successors like Nightwing or Batman Beyond.
Right, we touched on that a little bit earlier. What do you think, Andre?
No, I don't think so. Batman is Batman, and Batman is Bruce Wayne even. So I think they're definitely going to want to get more characters established as viable franchises than just Batman. Batman is simply going to be recast, but he's not going to be pushed to the wayside.
That's always Warner Brothers' MO. When all else fails, you go right back to Batman, too. I mean...
Right, and I was going to say something similar to that anyway, but it's like, to me, Batman is like their Spider-Man. No matter what way you change the character, he's always going to be Peter Parker, no matter how much they borrow from Miles Morales or this version or that version. I just don't ever see them doing a non-cinematic version of Batman that's not Bruce Wayne, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, the first time they call him by a different name, people are going to say, who's this guy and what did he do with Bruce Wayne? Think about it. Television, comics, cartoons, toys, video games, daily newspaper strips. I mean, Bruce Wayne has been Batman.
Well, I think a good point to bring up here is that a lot of us fans, especially genre fans and comic book fans, really need to understand about the general audience when it comes to these things is they don't know the 12 different characters that are in the Batman, family, quote unquote, that normally pop up here and there. They just know Bruce Wayne, they know Alfred, they know the Joker, they know Commissioner Gordon. That's it. That's what they know.
They know the core groupings of characters, and that's about it, yeah. I think a lot of, say, comics fans and genre fans often, they lose sight of that. Not everybody is familiar with those characters, like you said. And to suddenly throw a curveball at the audience is going to be a lot for them to take. So we have discussions about this, in the Midnight's Edge group and with other people, and everybody knows who Miles Morales is. I'm like, no, not really. I mean, you ask, and the same thing applies to Batman and Bruce Wayne.
I have a small feeling that part of the reason that Warner Brothers didn't like Affleck's script is that the main villain was not one of Batman's main rogues. And remember, they kept pushing, saying, oh, it's going to have all his main villains in it, and da-da-da-da, it's going to be a villain fiesta. And then, the only villain we heard anything about was Deathstroke. And then we even got that test footage, and then all of a sudden, all this shit come down. It's like, I'm wondering if they didn't say, look, if you're not going to get us a script where the Joker is the main villain, we don't want it right now. Or the Penguin or the Riddler, somebody who's a big name that hasn't been used recently probably. They're like, we don't want this Deathstroke. Nobody knows who the fuck a Deathstroke is. It sounds like, something that happens after you have a stroke. It doesn't make any sense to most people. They don't know who he is. The only reason even Deadshot was a character in Suicide Squad and who he was so prominently was because Will Smith played him. And you didn't, Joe Manganiello or whatever that was his name, who was going to play Deathstroke.
Joe Manganiello.
Yeah, so I mean, he's not a huge name actor, so right there, that kind of blows that out the window too. And we'll know as soon as we hear whoever the main villains are, if I'm right or wrong. If, like I said, if they come out and they say, oh, it's going to be Catwoman and Riddler and Penguin and Joker's going to make an appearance, then damn well Warner Brothers got their way and Matt Reeves just found a way to make it work, I guess.
I think those are some excellent final words right there.
Well, I want to thank Andre for joining us on our first Midnight's Edge After Dark podcast. Rob, thanks for joining us as well as always.
Thank you very much.
And my name is Tom, and of course you can find all our information down below, and thank you for joining us here on Midnight's Edge After Dark.
Bye.
If you like this video, then please hit that subscribe button. Due to recent changes made by YouTube, we also encourage all of our subscribers, both new and old, to please hit that bell icon next to the subscribe button as well, so you will be notified when new videos are uploaded. Be sure to check back for news and analysis of the happenings and corporate politics behind the scenes of your favorite genre movies, as well as explorations of your favorite characters and their backgrounds and context here at Midnight's Edge After Dark.